The Mid-Ohio sports car course is the man in his final season of Champ Car racing, Bobby Rahal. Champion in 1986, 1987 and 1992, and one of the most successful drivers of the modern era. Rahal will give his hometown fans the chance to cheer him on just one more time. Next year, he'll be the team boss behind the pit wall. But for the moment, it's Rahal the racer that the Ohio fans have come to see. Welcome everybody to our coverage of the Miller Lite 200 from the attractive Parkland circuit midway between Columbus and Cleveland in the state of Ohio. This is Ben Edwards with Jeremy Shaw, and only a few moments ago Bobby Rahal's 4 children gave the customary command for drivers to start their engines.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
All part of the celebrations of Bobby Rahal's last start here on the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Very exciting for the family members there, and very exciting for the crowd here. Rahal's been a big part of this racetrack.
Dario Franchitti is the man who starts from pole position today after a tremendous performance on Saturday. Franchitti's second year in the Champ Car Series has seen him develop into a consistent front runner. The race in Toronto seemed to be his for the taking until brake troubles intervened. He's hoping not to repeat the embarrassment.
Well, we fixed the brakes now, so that's a good thing. We spent a lot of time up at Elkhart testing, fixing the brakes, trying everything out, so the money's still up for grabs, but to be honest, I've spoke to all the guys in the team and we don't really care about it anymore. We just want to get that first victory on the wall, and then we'll see what happens from there.
So Franchitti starts from his third pole of the year. Jimmy Vasser will be alongside him. Meanwhile, on the second row of the grid is Brian Herter. Alongside him will be Maurizio Gugelmin, but Brian Herter perhaps one of the favourites for today's event. Jeremy.
Brian Herter could do with a slice of good fortune for a change here on his home track. Last year, he led from the pole until a rear tyre exploded. Yesterday, he slid off the track trying to reclaim the pole on his final lap of qualifying. Perhaps Lady Luck will smile his way this afternoon.
So Brian Herter starts on the second row. Let's take a detailed look now at the starting grid for today's race. Dario Franchitti on pole position. Alongside him, a race winner this year already, Jimmy Vasser. Then it's Brian Herter on the second row. A great performance from Maurizio Gugelmin to go fourth in qualifying.
Third row of the grid, Adrian Fernandez, his best starting position in 5 years here at Mid-Ohio. Greg Moore, he's been concentrating on his race setup. Feels good about this afternoon. Row 4, Alan Sir Jr., his 250th Champ Car start. And Mark Blundell, also for Pac West, on the pace this weekend.
Patrick Carpentier, the French-Canadian, is alongside Michael Andretti on the 5th row of the grid. And on the 6th row, Scott Pruitt lines up alongside the Brazilian, Gilles de Ferran.
Row 7, Alex Zanardi, his worst starting position of the season, but he's won from close back to here earlier on this year. Andre Ribeiro, the second of the Penske cars. Next up, Richie Hearn. Last week, his best finish in Champ Cars, 5th place, and Bobby Rahal's our hometown favourite.
JJ Leto's gone reasonably well. He's 17th on the grid. Alongside him, top rookie, Tony Kanaan. The next row, 19th place on the grid, Christian Fittipaldi, and alongside him, fellow Brazilian, Helio Castroneves.
Row 11, Paul Tracy, teammate of pole sitter Dario Franchitti, struggling this weekend, and Michel Jourdain Jr., the youngest driver in the field at 21. Gualter Sales on row 12, making his comeback again for Peyton Coyne, and Max Papis, the fastest of the Toyota cars this weekend.
Robbie Gordon is next up. He's 25th on the grid, and Alex Barron drives the all-new Eagle chassis for the first time here this weekend. The final row of the grid sees the Lola of Arndt Meyer and PJ Jones. PJ Jones still driving the Reynard for All-American Racers. That's how the 28 cars line up for the start of this race. PJ is into the pits. Apparently there's a problem with his radio, and don't forget, he starts from the back of the field anyway. He's coming out of the pits now, so that actually won't make any difference. There goes PJ Jones. There's the picture of him. He's been into the pits, tried to sort something out with the radio. He's still got time to join the back of the queue. In fact, it's just a bit of bad timing for him in a way, because the leaders are just coming past the start-finish line. But let me remind you that they start in a different place on this racetrack. Looking at the race analysis there, a race length of 83 laps, defending champion Alex Zanardi. He's won the last 2 races on this racetrack, but only one man has ever won more than 2 races here, Emerson Fittipaldi. He's had 3 victories around this track. Many other drivers have had 2. Alex Zanardi, though, starting in 13th, Jeremy, is going to be tough for him to win this one.
He's got a lot of ground to make up, but here they are coming up into the keyhole, which is really turn 2. But as you said, Ben, they start this race on the back straight. The start-finish straight is pretty short. This is now coming coming onto here is the longest straight on the racetrack, and this is where they make the start, about halfway down. The field is forming up, and PJ Jones is way behind of this lot, but they're getting ready for the start. Dario Franchitti and Jimmy Vasser on the front row.
Let's get going then. We're into racing. It's Dario Franchitti who leads them as they take the green flag and go into the first corner. Look at Brian Herter. Herter's down on the inside of Dario Franchitti. Franchitti's got the inside for the left-hander. They make contact. Franchitti's off, Vasser's off. They're all over the place, and it's Guterman who leads. There's an incident. There's often a crash at this first turn. It's all gone wrong for Franchitti again. It's gone wrong for Herter. It's gone wrong for Jimmy Vasser, and it's Maurizio Guterman who leads. Michel Jourdain is the fourth car that's involved, and we have a full course yellow. Well, we see accidents so often at this corner. We saw it yesterday in the Formula 4 2000 race, but what a shame to lose so many of our potential winners here in this race already. And what do Franchitti and Herter have to do? It always seems to go wrong, and now it's gone wrong for both of them at the same time.
What a shame. A great move down the inside by Brian Herter, and it's a consistent move there. You can maintain the advantage around the outside, then you get the inside. Here is the restart. There is the green flag. You can see Franchitti on the inside there leading down into the first corner. There's Herter. Clean pass on the inside. Dario Franchitti stays to the outside line. Herter tries to squeeze him out. They come together, and poor old Vasser there, absolutely innocent, taken out there as Franchitti spins across the track. All sorts of cars, mayhem behind.
Yeah, I think Jourdain ended up riding over the back of JJ Leto. You have to say there that Dario tried to stay with him side by side, and we've seen people do that, haven't we? Go side by side through the left-hander there, and it looked as though Herter didn't realise that Franchitti was still on the outside, squeezed him a little bit, and that ended in tears. As you say, Vasser got taken out. Blundell ended up on the grass on the inside there, but boy, oh boy, what a shame, because we had such a wonderful race set up with Franchitti up front. You can see Tracy's on the grass on the inside there, trying to avoid it all. Let's take another look here, Jeremy. We're on board with Scott Pruitt. I wonder what we can see from here.
Yeah, just carnage basically in front of him. But what a shame, as you say, Ben. I mean, two guys who desperately want to win this race. They both thought they had the advantage. I mean, there is Herter. He's ahead. He's a half a car at least ahead. He thinks he has the advantage. Franchitti, if he can get alongside Herter, then he can claim the inside line over the crest of the hill to the left-hander. But he's got to make that move forward. It's a tough call. You know, it's a 50-50 racing accident, really, but such a shame for these two great young drivers.
Brian Herter in the pits there, as you can see. They've put a new set of tyres on and sent him back out. Now maybe he's got away without any damage. This is another view from onboard Scott Pruitt. He nearly hits Herter. Look at this. Comes up, actually manages to get out of the way cleanly. The problem is there's so many cars around. They did quite well not to get more cars involved.
Yeah,
to be
they
honest.
really did a great job there, Ben. I have to say, I think Herter was there. I mean, Pruitt was pretty smart. He lagged back to let Unser go ahead of him, or the other Penske car go ahead of him, and obviously the guy behind Pruitt, which probably would have been Alex Zanardi, left him room as well to slot back in there. So there is Herter. He's back out on the racetrack. He is still on the lead lap, so he'll have to run around now, catch up with the back of the field, and who knows what can happen. There is Dario Franchitti and Michel Jourdain Jr. in the foreground, and the background there, Jimmy Vasser on the right-hand side, and just disappointment for these three drivers, and what a shame for the three of the top four. There is down the inside once again, Brian Herter.
Watch this as Franchitti tried to stay around him. He squeezed him tight there. Then he gave him a bit of space. He knew he was beaten into the right-hander. But Franchitti knew that there was still a chance of having the inside line for the next left-hander. So Franchitti stayed round the outside, right up close to the line. Herter just came across, you have to say. Well, Herter didn't give him quite enough room. But then again, he was ahead, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
He was slightly ahead of Franchitti.
Absolutely. He'd made the pass cleanly on the inside, and he's the one who's got to lead up to that next turn. If the other guy's going to take a stab down the inside, well, that's up to him to try and make the pass cleanly. He wasn't able to do that. He hit the back end of Herter's car. I said 50-50 first of all. I'm going to say 60-40 that Franchitti is the one who could have avoided that accident.
I don't know if I agree with that. I would say that there was hard there for Franchitti once he decided to go around the outside to actually get out of it. It was almost, if he'd hit the brakes, it was almost difficult to get out of it. Anyway, we'll settle on 50-50. For the moment, it's Maurizio Guterman who leads. Adrian Fernandez up to second, and Moore in third place. We're back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Miller Lite 200, yellow flag right at the very start. An incident with Dario Franchitti, Brian Herter taking out Jimmy Vasser, also involving Michel Jourdain, who was further down the field. Maurizio Gugelmin is our race leader behind the pace car. We haven't even had a full lap of racing as yet, but what great disappointment. We've lost Brian Herter, and he's just stormed out of his car, and this is what Brian has to say.
Brian Herter, tell me what happened.
You know, I really have to look at the replay. I had a good start. I got on the inside of Dario, went through the corner, thought I had him cleared. You know, he tried to stay on the outside. I thought I had him cleared, and we touched. It spun me around, got tangled up with Jimmy. It's really unfortunate. I didn't mean to move over. I mean, I tried to give Dario room. I thought I had him cleared. When I felt him, I was surprised. You know, it wasn't a place I expected him to try and stay. It's really unfortunate because the car was really good and we had a great start. And, yeah, I'm sick.
What was the conversation amongst you drivers when you got out of the car down there?
Something's broken on the car. I don't even know what it is. I could tell. I tried to get going again. I spun. I had all kinds of alarms going off on the engine. I think we busted a radiator or something else, but nothing we could fix.
All right, that's Brian Herter. Boy, disgust. What a way to have your race day end so soon.
Absolutely, such disappointment, and he had got away so brilliantly. He'd made an absolutely superb start. It was a great move down the inside to get past Dario Franchitti into the right-hand section, and as he said then, he just didn't know that Dario was still trying to go around him on the outside, and well, the end result, great disappointment for those two, and for Jimmy Vasser. I mean, poor old Jimmy, he wasn't even involved in what those two were up to, and he still got taken out of it.
Yeah, absolutely innocent victim there, and Michel Jourdain Jr., of course, also tangled up in that. So we're 4 cars down now with Herter out, having come around into the pits, and what a shame that was. But you know, it's interesting to see Maurizio Gugelmin up in the front of this field. He's done well here in the past before. He also had his first start in the Champ Cars at this racetrack 5 years ago. So he does enjoy this racetrack, and last time, it's the first time he's led a race though this season.
You saw the cars involved in the crash there, and notably for Jimmy Vasser, it's his first non-finish of the season. He's finished absolutely every race this year. Of course, lying in second place in the championship to Alex Zanardi coming into this race by some 68 points, a long way back. But Jimmy was hoping to take advantage of his front row start as opposed to his Italian teammate's 7th row start. But obviously there's not much he can do about it. Zanardi, as a result of all this, has moved up into 8th position now, and Maurizio Gugelmin, of course, is our race leader. Now, we're 2 weeks on from the last round of the championship, and the last race in the championship, the US 500 at the Michigan Speedway, a race that, of course, provided a great deal of tragedy for all the members of the kart camp. 3 spectators were killed as a result of flying debris, and the news, which was confirmed after the end of the race, has saddened the entire kart community. Already measures have been taken to fully understand the incident and to prevent it from happening in the future, and a moment of silence was held earlier this afternoon with drivers, officials, team personnel and spectators joining in, remembering and mourning the 3 fans. A very tragic day indeed it was 2 weeks ago, Jeremy. The lessons hopefully will be learnt and we move on from that.
Yeah, it was an awful afternoon, and doubly tragic because it was such an exciting race. But the show has to go on, and here we are. We are now with the restart here this afternoon, and the green has just come out, and there is Maurizio Gugelmin leading the pack through turn 1.
So 5 laps have been completed, all of them under yellow so far, but now we're up to race speed again as Maurizio Gugelmin leads Adrian Fernandez along in 2nd position, Greg Moore in 3rd, Alonso Jr. is 4th, Michael Andretti is now up to 5th position. Remember, he started down in 10th place, so for Michael it's good news, but let me tell you, he was struggling in the warm-up. Look behind, and you can see Michael's under pressure from Gilles de Ferran. De Ferran trying to go around the outside, and De Ferran completes the move as they go through up into the right-hander, and De Ferran therefore up into 5th position. Both of those on the Goodyear tyres, and worries about the Goodyear's longevity in this race.
Yeah, the front tyres particularly seem to be having a hard time on this this tough racetrack, and I think after sort of 10 or 15 laps, the drivers have been telling me that the Goodyear front tyres really do go away, and it's slipping and sliding thereafter. There, though, is Adrian Fernandez in 2nd place, and where Gilles de Ferran passed Michael Andretti, just behind those two was a red car, you might have noticed, of Alex Zanardi locking up the brakes down there. Yeah, I don't think he made a pass that time around. He's still in 8th position. second, but not out of this contest by a long way.
No, that's right. And the driver that he's going to be trying to get past is Patrick Carpentier. That's not going to be easy, is it? Greg Moore's teammate. Greg Moore in third place in the championship, and there he is, lying in third place in this race. The blue and white car of Moore ahead of Alonso Jr., Gilles de Ferran, Michael Andretti there. Patrick Carpentier in the other player's machine, and as you can see, chased by the Italian Alex Zanardi, winner of 6 races so far this year, and the winner of the last 2 events here at Mid-Ohio. So can Zanardi line him up? He's coming up for a move down the inside, has a little look down there, but Carpentier covers that nicely.
That's very interesting, because Alex certainly had a good run on the straight. He seemed to be much quicker down the end of that straight, but Carpentier very late on the brakes. You can see him fishturning around as he comes over the crest of the hill there through the S's, and could be the late braking there by Patrick Carpentier. Far and away his best performance on a road course in a champ car.
Yes, indeed in qualifying he was disappointed, wasn't he, Jeremy? Because on Friday he done even better. He was 4th on the provisional grid after Friday, and in fact he was a bit disgusted with himself for going off in qualifying on Saturday.
That's right, he did. He was off the road and damaged 3 corners on the car. He's actually now in the backup machine, so the second of the number 33 player's car is what Carpentier has to use this afternoon.
Let me just tell you that one of the big losers on that first lap incident, who didn't actually go out of the race, but it's a long way down, is Mark Blundell. He's down in 20th position. Remember, he actually started in 8th position. After Friday, he was actually 2nd fastest, but that first lap accident has pushed him all the way down to 20th.
Yeah, he actually came into the pits for some adjustments or maybe fresh tires. I didn't actually see what they did to the Motorola car, but certainly way back down the field now for Mark Blundell, and a long fight back he faces this afternoon. He was telling me this morning that he's having some problems with the car under braking. The rear tends to lock up, the rear brakes are locking up, the rear wheels locking up, and it's really giving him a hard time under braking. He's already been off the road a couple of times this weekend, and he's just going to try and get to the finish this afternoon.
On board with Scott Pruitt, who lies down in 10th position at the moment. Pruitt, who started off in 11th place, so not a great difference. Let's just have a little listen now as he takes us around this race course. Listen to the driving style, particularly how he treats the throttle. Let's just have a listen to that. He's coming up to turn number 2, and they've got to get through this right-hander as smoothly as possible, and you can hear Pruitt just stabbing a little bit at the throttle as he tries to feel the grip, the amount of tyre grip that the Firestones are generating in this early stage. Remember, full tank of fuel on board at the moment. Let's listen up to Bobby Rahal now, as he also takes us around the back part of the track.
In 11th place, Bobby Rahal, and right behind the number 20 car, the Vistion Reynolds of Scott Pruitt, over the crest there in turn 7 and now down to turn 8. This hilly section of track, ups and downs, and really demanding on the drive. A lot of G-forces here. The cars go light again over the crest here. Heavy braking for the far end of the racetrack, at the bottom of the racetrack. Then over that crest again there, and uphill now, up Thunder Valley, and up towards this very quick left-hand corner here, and then heavy braking again for the carousel, and the end of yet another lap. This will be lap 9 in the books.
Yeah, down to 2nd gear for the carousel, and then accelerating out across the start-finish line. They're already up to 148 miles an hour, building that up. Just a very light bit of braking for the left-hander as they go under the bridge and reappear in our view, and then building up to high speed again, about 175 miles an hour as they head up this straight towards the right-hander at the keyhole. So Bobby Rahal currently in 11th position, wasn't able to make up much ground in that first corner fracas that went on at the right and left over the hill. But Bobby Rahal, nonetheless, he's had some great results here. Twice winner in the past, 1985 and 1986. A good run here last year. Moved up to 3rd position at the end. So he loves this place. He has the local support. But look at this. Battle for the lead going on between Maurizio Guterman, who hasn't been up front in a race since the last race of last year, as you mentioned earlier. But look at this. Great performance from the PacWest crew this weekend. They really do seem to be getting some of the sums right for a change.
Finally, boy, it's been a long way. They've had a little bit of reshuffling amongst the team, a few personnel changes. Actually, on Mark Blundell's car, Butch Winkle has actually left the team of his own volition, and he has been replaced as crew chief by the Kiwi Glenn Fox. Darryl Fox, beg your pardon, and who's taken over there, the crew chief on that car. And certainly the PacWest, they've got along very well this weekend. They made some good progress with the car. Alan McDonald's the engineering director there, and and the cars are working pretty well indeed. Certainly Mauricio Gugelmin has been slightly the faster driver in qualifying, but Mark Blundell has been up and down a little bit. He's happy with the car almost. But as I said, he has to have that slight problem with the rear brakes blocking up. And if he can get over that, he just needs a little bit more consistency from that car to be able to challenge for the front. But there is Mauricio Gugelmin doing some consistent laps at the moment, not trying to extend himself this early in the race.
No, that's right. I think he was quite thankful to Blundell. He actually took Mark's setup for Saturday qualifying and ended up putting in a great performance to qualify in 4th position. It's Gugelmin, our leader, after 10 laps have been completed. To round 13 of the FedEx Championship Series from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Mauricio Gugelmin is our race leader by only a fraction of a second from Adrian Fernandez. Greg Moore in 3rd, Al Unser Jr. close behind in 4th position. Then it's Gilles de Ferran in 5th, and Michael Andretti holding on to 6th place. 7th, Patrick Carpentier. 8th place for Alex Zanardi, 9th for Andre Ribeiro. 10th place for Scott Pruitt, 11th for Bobby Rahal, and in 12th place is Richie Hearn. Behind them, Helio Castroneves, Paul Tracy, JJ Letter, Robbie Gordon and Tony Kanaan. But we're keeping an eye on this battle up front at the moment. A group of 4 cars pretty close together. Gugelmin, Fernandez, Greg Moore and Al Unser Jr. Good to see the Penske's up there. Oh, and we've got a spinner. It's Arndt Meyer in the Lola. He had been running quite a long way down the field, but it looks as though he may have stalled the engine. He's asking for a push start, but it doesn't look as though it's forthcoming, and Arndt Meyer is off, and he looks as though he's made a fair bit of contact with the tyres, looking at the way they've splayed themselves all over the track.
Yeah, the exit of turn 10 there on the bottom end of the racetrack is going up Thunder Valley, and a bit too much thunder for the liking of Arndt Meyer.
We've got a chance to catch up with Dario Franchitti, who's made his way back from the incident. Let's hear from him.
On a monitor here back in his pits is Dario Franchitti. Dario, I can't imagine the disappointment. Tell us how it felt, what happened from your seat on the start.
And disappointment's one thing. I'm actually angry at the moment. I can't believe Brian pulled such a stupid move. Fair enough, he was alongside me. That was not a problem. But a lot of other people seem to manage to go through that corner 2 abreast. Brian just squeezed me out and kept squeezing until I was on the grass and we touched. I had nowhere else to go. I don't know what he was playing at, what he was thinking. It's a very stupid move, and we're out. We both had a chance of winning this race. We took, in the accident, Jimmy was taken out, you know, the 3 quickest guys, I would say, this weekend, and, you know, because of Brian's stupid move, we now have no chance of winning the race, and I can't tell you how disappointed I am.
When you got out of the car, we had pictures of you and Jimmy and Brian all together there. Were you telling him of your displeasure, of your unhappiness?
No, we didn't see Brian. Brian came round. He was driving around, and we just kind of said, you know, what were you doing there? Jimmy's very upset with him. You know, I talked to Jimmy. Jimmy, when we got out of the car, and Jimmy he said, I can't believe what he just pulled there. It's the stupidest move I've ever seen, and I can't believe it. An 83-lap race, you know, and okay, it's difficult to pass here, but you don't have to then come off at the first corner. That's a mistake you make in your first year racing. You know, Brian really needs to think about what he's doing, I think.
I'm assuming that you will find a time to talk to him?
Yeah, I'll sit down with Brian. We'll talk about it, but I don't think there's much to talk about if he's going to do moves like that.
Thank you, Dario. Jack?
Well, Gary, let's get the other man that's involved in this whole thing, and that's Jimmy Vasser. Jimmy, your version of what happened, the surprise was so evident on the radio.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brian Herta came down the inside way too fast and was slid across the front of Franchitti and kind of forced him off the track. And then I saw it happening, and I got as far to the right as I could and thought I was going to go around the outside, and they came together. And, you know, I thought I was by. Somebody clipped me in the back. And, you know, it's unfortunate to go out like that when you're trying to do all the right things and it's not your fault, and we need the points to catch up to Zanardi, but now here I am rooting for him. So.
Well, now, Dario said that you had some words and things to say about about Brian Herta's move. We want to give you the opportunity to say it yourself, put it into perspective.
Well, I just said it, you know. He came up too aggressive on the inside and was a little bit out of control, and you know, maybe it was a bit optimistic on his point to try to take the lead on the first corner when there was 83 laps to go. He has had a great car here in testing and all through the weekend, so I just, you know, I think that was not very well timed on his part.
Back to green, and this is not where Jimmy Vasser wants to be.
Well, we go back to racing, and it's Gugelmin who leads from Fernandez and Moore. We're on to lap number 16 now.
Well, I say I disagree with Jimmy's viewpoint there. I don't think Herder went too fast down the inside and forced him off the track. I don't think that was the case at all. He was well under control, was through on the inside. The accident was well after that, and slightly, it's interesting the different perspectives you get from inside the car and outside the car. But certainly what is undisputable is a great shame, because three very fast cars, three very good young drivers out of this race.
Yes, that's the great disappointment. It robs what could have been a tremendous spectacle to see those three battling it out throughout the 83 laps. As it is, we've still got a tremendous spectacle. We hope Guterman are leading this race from Adrian Fernandez. There's been nothing to choose between them in the early stages. And bear in mind, in these early laps, as I mentioned, only on lap number 16 out of 83 in this one, and they'll be taking things relatively easy. They'll be looking after their fuel consumption. They won't be pushing too hard. They need to see how things work out in terms of when a full course yellow comes out, and they will be playing the fuel consumption game a little bit at this stage. There's no doubt about that, and we haven't seen many passes. It is a difficult circuit to overtake on anyway. I think they're going to be saving up whatever overtaking moves they can pull until perhaps a little later in the race. On board at the moment here with Gilles de Ferran. There's a little chance to sit back, and let's just listen now to Gilles de Ferran's driving style as he rides around in 5th position. We've got to concentrate on a pass there, a potential pass, as Zanardi tried so hard to get past Carpentier. He's getting a little frustrated in 8th position. But again, as you said earlier, Carpentier seems as brave on the brakes as anybody, and Zanardi could not make that move work.
Very impressive by Carpentier, really. He's really struggled since coming into the Champ Car Series last year on these road courses and the street courses. Last year with Tony Bettenhausen's team, he had an awful time on these sort of tracks, really never qualified well at all, rarely even above sort of 15th place or so. But this weekend, he's really gone well. He's tested a few times on this type of track, gained a lot of confidence, and it's certainly showing this afternoon.
It is, but I wonder how hard he's using his tyres to do that. We keep seeing him correcting slides, laying down rubber out of turn 9 that last time, and I just wonder whether or not he's not using his tyres a little too hard. Apparently Zanardi's being given the word to manage his fuel, look after the fuel economy, and again you can see Zanardi trying to get a good exit out of turn 2 there, again to try the outbraking move as they come down to turn number 4, but he's not close enough to have a go this time. He just moves a little to the middle of the road, make sure that Carpentier can see him in his mirrors. Again, you can see Carpentier, the back end of the car, snaking around a bit, perhaps using those rear tyres a little too hard in these early stages.
Fast-end tyres, of course, on both of these cars. The Mercedes engine in the player's car of Patrick Carpentier, the Honda engine of that car, Alex Zanardi, the championship leader. 8th place, as you say, still better. Right behind him is Andre Ribeiro.
Yeah, Ribeiro and Alonso Jr. showing that the Penske is working extremely well around this track, with the same Mercedes-Benz power unit as Greg Moore and Patrick Carpentier there. But the Penske chassis hasn't shown that well on the road courses this year. A little bit patchy, certainly not so good in qualifying, and then they've had their reliability problems in the races as well, particularly with the gearbox. But I know you were saying that there have been some changes to that gear change mechanism, which hopefully will look after them a bit this weekend.
Yeah, they certainly had some problems during this season, particularly it seems with Andre Ribeiro's car, but a change of the mechanism, the way the selector system actually works on that car, and it seems to be paying off. Ribeiro is a lot happier, the team is a lot happier, the gearbox really looks in good shape when they pull it apart after every session, so good progress by Team Penske. Don't go away, we'll be right back with more from Mid-Ohio.
We're back to the action here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and it's all still to play for. Still waiting for the first round of pit stops. Maurizio Guterman, race leader. Adrian Fernandez in second, but Greg Moore a little closer to the back of Adrian Fernandez now, really beginning to make some thoughts about getting past him.
That's right, Greg Moore and his race engineer Steve Chalice, with whom he's been working since his Formula 4 days, since he first came into the sport. They've concentrated all weekend on their race setup. They feel very, very confident indeed coming into this race. Passing, of course, is tough, but still early stages. 23 laps we have in the books now, and Greg Moore is hanging on there right behind Adrian Fernandez and looking for a way past.
Also, let me just tell you that Alex Zanardi has moved up past Patrick Carpentier, so he has moved into 7th, and he's now behind Michael Andretti, so there's an interesting battle going on.
And right behind those two as well, Scott Pruitt has found a way past Andre Ribeiro.
So the top 3 just coming up to lap Arndt Meyer, the yellow car there, the Lola of Arndt Meyer. So he's going to hopefully get out of the way. He's been pretty good about getting out of the way. I know Alex Zanardi had a go at him earlier on this year at the Brazilian race, which of course Greg Moore won in the final stages when Alex got a little held up by Arndt Meyer, but difficult to blame Arndt in that situation. He was really just doing his own thing and letting the others find their way past. And so Arndt Meyer hopefully keeping well out of the way as the leaders go through. Gugelmin up front, he must be relishing this, Jeremy. I mean, he's had such a tough year, and there is Maurizio Gugelmin leading a race, and it looks as though he's going to be leading it all the way to the first fuel stop.
That's certainly what he'd like to do, but under pressure certainly from those two cars behind him, Adrian Fernandez and Greg Moore, nose to tail, and trying to get past that slower car of Arndt Meyer.
So we're just going to take a look here at Alex Zanardi having a little off-course moment, and well, you can see that the Italian is trying very, very hard indeed. He may be quite a long way down the order. He got back on, and it didn't really cost him much. Looks as though it's undamaged back out there, but Alex Zanardi frustrated so far with what's going on in this race, desperately trying to find a bit more speed, and he's lost several places as a result of that incident. Way down the order now as they come past our commentary box position. There is Alex Zanardi. A whole bunch of places has been lost. He's now down into 16th position. Disaster for Alex Zanardi.
Yeah, that's not what he wanted at all. Big boo-boo there. He got a little bit impatient perhaps and pays the price, loses 9 positions. And on this kind of racetrack, I mean, he knows he spent the first 24 laps trying to get round Patrick Carpentier, and finally did so, and then lets his enthusiasm get the better of him. So that's a shame. So Scott Pruitt benefits there. Pruitt's actually moved up 3 places now. He'd already passed Andre Ribeiro, then he passed Patrick Carpentier, and then he takes advantage of that off-course excursion by Alex Zanardi.
On board with Scott Pruitt, trying to get past Michael Andretti, and good battle going on. 2 Ford-powered cars, and it's the battle for 6th position. Pruitt has had a good run of races actually in recent times, had a poor start to the season. Saw all the honours go to Adrian Fernandez, of course, that win that Adrian had in Japan. Pruitt really didn't seem to get his act together in the early stages. There, Michael Andretti defending that position at the moment from Scott Pruitt. There's a whole bunch of cars all together there. It's Pruitt, Carpentier, Ribeiro, Rahal, Richie Hearn, Castro Neves, JJ Leto, then Paul Tracy, Walter Sales, before finally we see Alex Zanardi right at the very back of that group. But for Michael Andretti, doing a fine job of holding on to that position. As we said earlier, those worries about the Goodyear tyres, and it does look as though he's struggling to stay ahead of the faster.
Yeah, it really does, Ben. The last 4 or 5 laps, he's slipped back quite a long way now from Gilles de Ferran, and that train of cars is, it was already looming pretty large in his mirrors, and they make it there is alongside.
Pruitt's got past, he's got past now, so he makes the move, and perhaps it is just down to tyre grip. It looks as though someone is off as well in the background. Can we spot who that is? It might be Bobby Ray. Oh, it's de Ferran. It's de Ferran. Gilles de Ferran has gone off. He was in 5th position in the number 5 car, and he is going back onto the circuit. But this is disastrous news for Gilles de Ferran. Another one having a tough season. Gugelmin, meanwhile, has opened up a bit of an advantage from Fernandez, and into the pits comes Al Unser Jr. So the first round of pit stops beginning to take place now. Al Unser Jr. is into the pits, let me tell you, as we see Pruitt coming past us ahead of that group, led by Michael Andretti. Al Unser Jr., though, in the pit lane, an important stop. The first of the main stops. We're on the end of lap number 27, and on to lap number 28 as we go into the first round of stops. We're expecting just a 2-stop race. That'll depend on the yellows a little bit. Away goes Al Unser Jr. Pretty clean stop. Meanwhile, Gilles de Ferran chooses this moment to come in as well.
It'll depend on the yellows. It also depends on the tyres. Those tyres were obviously going away on all the Goodyear cars, I think. I think that's why Al Unser Jr. is the first of the cars in the pits. He is on Goodyear tyres. Also, Gilles de Ferran, who's off the road, also in the pits. 4 fresh Goodyears and a full tank of fuel for Gilles de Ferran. Well,
all the leaders, of course, will be looking to make their stops pretty soon, and well, we're just going to have to see exactly how it settles down. Of course, this might help Alex Zanardi make up some places. We know how quick his pit crew is at getting him back out, but he's got an awful lot of ground to make up. Still down in 16th place. Still looking at Michael Andretti at the moment in 7th place. Out of the pit safely, no problem for him, but Michael Andretti really holding up that queue of cars. In fact, Michael coming into the pits now, so Michael Andretti is the next one to make his stop. This race is the 250th race for the Newman-Haas team since their formation in 1983. It's not promising to be a particularly brilliant result. Let's just hear the radio as the Newman-Haas crew goes to work on the number 6 car.
Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it.
Stop. A little bit of an adjustment on the front wing, and he gets away cleanly. So the Newman-Haas crew doing a fine job there. They're having to come in a bit early. We've had early stops for Alonso Jr. and Michael Andretti. We're still waiting to see when the leaders will come in.
Yeah, lap 29 we're on now, and Mauricio Gugelmin certainly beginning to edge away a little bit now from the second place car of Adrian Fernandez, and he too inching away a little bit from Greg Moore. But as I say, that this time around, I think they're a little bit closer. But what is interesting is a huge advantage they've pulled away from the 4th place car of Scott Pruitt.
Yes, a massive change. Of course, Gilles de Ferran has gone off. Looking at Mauricio Gugelmin, still waiting for him to come into the pits, and it looks as though these 3 cars are pushing it as far as possible before they make their pit stops. Of course, it's always the way to try and do it. Adrian Fernandez has the Ford engine. We have seen the Ford perhaps not see quite such good consumption as the Mercedes-Benz and the Honda throughout this season, but at the moment we've got a good opportunity to see 2 Mercedes-Benz, 1 Ford, and we're going to have to wait and see who comes into the pits first out of that little group.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. I think Ford has certainly worked pretty hard on all that kind of stuff, and they reckon they made some progress. They reckon they're on a par now with Mercedes and Honda. We'll see this afternoon perhaps, but here we are, 30 laps in the books. We've just had Michael Andretti come past us here. He's in 22nd position, and we're waiting now for, there is Max Papis making his pit stop.
Here we go.
Way back in 19th place, and here come the 2 leaders into the pit lane.
Yes, Gugelmin coming in, Fernandez coming in, but Greg Moore stays out. Now this is interesting. I wonder if Greg is going to be able to stretch his field a bit further. It could make all the difference at the end of the race, and that's what they're trying to do at this stage. Greg Moore in great shape, no doubt about it. Looking at Adrian Fernandez, an important stop. Who is going to be first, the Patrick team or the Pac West team? To get these 2 cars out, the Pac West crew do a fine job. Gugelmin is accelerating down the pit lane. Patrick Abontier, Adrian Fernandez comes out, and he gets out just ahead, I think, there of Mauricio Gugelmin. Fernandez has got ahead, and it looks as though Adrian Fernandez, the winner of the race at Motegi earlier in this season, now has the advantage in this race, and a great effort from the Patrick Racing crew to get out ahead of the Pac West car of Mauricio Gugelmin. Of course, the important stop will be that of Greg Moore. We've seen his teammate Patrick Carpentier just come in. Moore surely will come in either this lap or the next lap, just depending how far he can push the field.
Yeah, Scott Pruitt also did not stop that time around, but of course Moore now has the advantage. He has hot tyres on that car, and here he comes into the pit lane right now in front of our booth, and here comes Greg Moore for that crucial stop. But that quick lap on those hot tyres could prove the difference. We'll see in a moment.
Yes, so we will watch to see as Adrian Fernandez and Mauricio Gugelmin come past us as to whether the Forsyth crew can get Greg Moore out ahead of them both. Absolutely critical stop. We might still be at the first stop of the race, but it could make a huge difference. More cars coming into the pits, including Alex Zanardi. There goes Greg Moore, 13.7. Gets a little bit held up on the way out, nearly stalled it, and he's just coming out of the pit lane. Adrian Fernandez goes across the line. There goes Gugelmin. It's going to be an interesting view. Is Greg Moore going to be out in front of Adrian Fernandez? And if he is, will he stay there? Because he's on cold tyres, remember, and Fernandez has had a lap to warm his tyres up. An interesting battle in prospect between these 2. Who's going to have the advantage as they come back out onto the track?
Fascinating stuff here. This is so interesting. But we've got Alex Zanardi there into the pits as well, and just about everybody now made their first pit stops, except for Andre Ribeiro, who is going to do a 32nd lap. Also, actually, Tony Kanaan did not stop either, so we're expecting those 2 in next time around to complete the pit callers.
So Adrian Fernandez had the advantage. He had enough to be able to get out ahead, or be in front of Greg Moore as Moore came out of the pits. It wasn't a great stop for Rahal, Greg Moore and Adrian Fernandez has the advantage in this race as we're into the second stint now. Andre Ribeiro coming into the pits. And
32 in the books there, and Andre Ribeiro into the pit lane. Alongside also is Tony Kanaan into the pits as well.
It is in fact Greg Moore with the advantage over Fernandez. Moore back in front, so Greg Moore now our new leader. The green flag waves then, and Greg Moore leads them on lap number 41. Adrian Fernandez in second place, Maurizio Gugelmin in third. Are we going to see any place changes on the restart? Always an opportunity. Watch out for Paul Tracy there behind Bobby Rahal. We were talking about him a moment ago. Is Tracy going to try and squeeze past Rahal? No, he's not, because Rahal does the sensible thing and defends. Meanwhile, Carpentier and Andretti side by side, and now JJ Leto with an opportunity to get past Michael Andretti. Look to the right. I wonder if you'll see JJ on the right here.
Yeah, he hopes so. No, I don't think he managed to quite get inside. It looked like he might have a run coming off the corner, but some good defensive tactics there by 2 or 3 drivers. And Leto actually tries the outside line around Michael Andretti.
Great move around the outside, and JJ Leto makes him work. How about that? Great to see. And Alex Zanardi now has got alongside as well. Michael Andretti. These two have had some good dicing so far this year, and Michael just about fends off. Look at the amount of correction on the steering.
Yeah, look how hard he's having to work at the wheel of that Swift. Boy, they've been struggling all weekend, and Michael Andretti they've not been able to get a handle on the car at all. He's slipping and sliding. You can see how hard he was working there, and he's back now into 11th place with Zanardi behind him. He's going to have a hard time keeping Alex Zanardi behind him, I fancy.
Yes, I think you're right there. Of course, Alex Zanardi is the winner of all of the road course races so far this year, and that's a pretty amazing record. 5 out of 5 of the road courses, but it's going to be tough to make it 6 here today from 12th position as we approach the half distance point. We are at halfway around this lap, exactly at half distance, and Alex Zanardi really has his work cut out here. Greg Moore, one of his main championship rivals, continues to lead the race from Adrian Fernandez as that battle continues up front.
Yeah, that move by JJ Leto, that was very interesting indeed. You know, that's what Dario Franchitti was trying to do to get the lead back from Brian Herta on the first lap of the race. The difference being, of course, that Leto had his nose in front going back up the hill into the left-hander, and that is the crucial difference.
Yes, that's right. And Franchitti not perhaps quite alongside enough for Herta to know he was there. And, well, such a shame to lose them both. Certainly Franchitti was pretty upset with Herta afterwards, but then Herta wasn't too happy either. And they'll both have their version of events, as we've already heard in this broadcast. Mark Blundell, you can see there, is running in 13th place. Made an extra stop early in this race. He got caught out by that accident to Franchitti and Herta early on, and he has made up some ground as a result of the pit stop. So good news there for Mark Blundell. Now, on board with Tony Kanaan. Let's have a little listen to the top rookie in the championship. Let's listen to his driving style now. Hard out of these slow corners. Tony Kanaan then lying in 16th position at the moment, chasing after Christian Fittipaldi, fellow Brazilian, and in fact Helio Castroneves is next up on the road just ahead of these two. Now then, let's compare that driving style with Bobby Rahal. In fact, Bobby's actually enjoying a bit of a dice with Andre Ribeiro at the moment. Let's just sit back and listen to this for a moment. Again, let's listen I listen to that bit as he continues this chase. Nice smooth exit there. He didn't get much oversteer coming out of the corner. Now onto the long straight, building up to about 190 miles an hour down this part of the track, the fastest section. In styles there. Bobby Rahal just a little bit more on and off the throttle. Tony Kanaan, a slightly smoother approach. Each of them very well in this race. Bobby Rahal running 7th at the moment. Tony Kanaan down in 16th place. But it's Greg Moore, our race leader. 44 laps have been completed for over half distance. Fernandez chases in 2nd. Back to the action here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. You're looking not at race leader Greg Moore, but at his teammate Patrick Carpentier at the moment. He's involved in a good battle. Had a go at getting past Paul Tracy just a moment ago. Nearly went badly wrong for both of them, but they just about managed to sort themselves out. Tracy continues in 8th place, Carpentier in 9th, and he's got to watch out for right behind him, 10th position for JJ Leto. So all the action still continuing here. Behind them, Michael Andretti and Alex Zanardi continuing their own battle for 11th, and Mark Blundell's right in on that little group as well. There he is in the Motorola car. Blundell chasing on, he's in 13th place, and Zanardi over the curb again on the exit of turn number 1. I wonder if Mark Blundell's going to try and take advantage. He's had a look down the inside, doesn't quite make the move, and Zanardi gave him a bit of space, and well, I think Zanardi was very aware that he'd made the mistake on the exit of turn 1. Zanardi really not getting into his normal rhythm here today.
No, he's not. He's making some mistakes, and Mark Blundell has an awfully tough place to pass up at the top of the hill there into what they call the keyhole corner, and Blundell's wisely, I think, backing out, not forcing the issue at that time. It wasn't a clear overtaking opportunity, and he'd rather wait and try and have another go later on, particularly, as you said this morning, he's having some problems with those rear brakes locking up. You don't want to be diving down the inside of somebody there, have those rear brakes lock up and have the rear end come around on you. So he's right behind him there, but very, very close indeed. And there is now switch across to Christian Fittipaldi in 14th position.
Well, in fact, we quickly go back to Zanardi on board. Great view of Mark Blundell chasing him down. There is a report that there's a front wing problem for Zanardi. Had a quick look then, couldn't see anything obvious, but that doesn't mean to say that there isn't some damage, and he certainly does seem to be struggling to stay ahead of Mark Blundell, which is quite unusual. It may explain why he's been running a bit wide. Blundell himself there, up over the curb and up into turn 2. Blundell too far away, although Zanardi locking up on the way in. You can see the smoke from the tyres. Good exit from there though, and that pulls him just a little bit clear of Blundell once again. Great dice distance going on for 12th position.
12th place is not where we expect to see Alex Zanardi, but that's where he is, and that's what he's got to make the most of. He's got to try and move his way up from there. As you can see though, he's not having an easy time doing that, and Blundell certainly after that early miscue has moved up the order pretty sharply, so he's doing a nice job. But meanwhile, let me tell you that Greg Moore is pulling away at the front of the field. He's turning some very fast laps indeed. There's a good close look at the front wing of Alex Zanardi's player's car, the target car I should say, and Blundell again has a look up the inside there, but no.
Very difficult place to get past there because the lead car has to take his line for the fast left-hander now down into the carousel, and there's definitely a problem for Zanardi. There's no doubt that he's struggling. There are reports from the pits as well that he's struggling with this car. Front wing problem, and some damage has been done to that front wing, and it's just making the handling that much more difficult for him. And again now Blundell tries to line himself up for the inside move up into the keyhole, and again Zanardi just defends that line firmly, fairly, and keeps Blundell behind him. Last lap you can see that Blundell was just a couple of tenths of a second faster, but not enough to really make a big difference.
Certainly not enough to make the pass, and that's what Blundell wants to do. I think he's probably a little bit quicker looking closest up there under braking and over the top of the hill there in turn 5 and 6, and down here again the downhill, that is really tough section of track here. Again here over that little crest, you can see there's a good view of it there, and a slight bit of puff of smoke there from probably one of the brakes locking up on Alex Zanardi's car. There is Blundell very fast through that section of racetrack.
Yeah, he is, and just how close he gets. Of course, remember that Blundell will be losing front downforce by following Zanardi so closely, and yet he's able to run right behind him even through the corners, which is pretty amazing, and it just shows that Blundell potentially could go an awful lot faster, I think, than Alex Zanardi if only he could find a way of getting past the Italian. That's proving to be a bit difficult, and both of them run up on the curve on the exit of turn 1 as they head up towards the keyhole once again.
And both chasing the Newman Haas car of Michael Andretti, who again is dropping back once again. We've seen about, what, 10 laps since the caution was withdrawn, and now I think Andretti begins to struggle, being to slip back from that battle ahead of him. J.J. Leger and Patrick Carpentier and Paul Tracy and the other guys are there, though, is the Eagle.
Yeah, sadly, Alex Barron is off at the side of the road as well, and what a shame. He'd been doing so well, and the debut of the Eagle chassis for 1998, the new car. Last time the Eagles IndyCar was raced, or Champ Car was raced, was at the end of 1996 at Laguna Seca. And now the new version here had been running competitively towards the back of the field, but not a bad effort at all. But we do now have a full course yellow, and everybody is going to bunch up behind the pace car again. But I have to say, what's interesting is we're virtually in the pit lane, in the pit stop window here, and I should think we're going to be seeing a great many pit stops coming up amongst the leaders. It'll make the last stint quite hard work on a tank of fuel, but it's going to make life very interesting indeed as they try and time these pit stops for the last part of the race.
Yeah, and if they come in and make a pit stop now, Ben, unless there's quite a few more cautions, they're going to have a really hard time getting to the end of the race. There's still, what, 32 laps to go, and in the first part of the race, we had, what, 5 laps of caution right away, and then another 2 or 3 after that, and even then they were only able to get to lap 31, 32, and then they were probably running pretty lean, so it's going to be touch and go whether they can get to the end on just one more fuel stop, and particularly if it goes green all the way.
Yes, that's right. So let's wait and see what happens here as Greg Moore leads them into the pits, and with a big advantage that he'd opened up over Adrian Fernandez in that last stint. He's got quite an advantage for his crew to maintain, and hopefully getting him out ahead again. Now then, let's see if we can compare some of the pit stops here. Greg Moore down at the far end of the pit lane, but Adrian Fernandez actually further down than he is, more pretty much in the centre. We've seen some 12, 13 second stops. Oh, and he's been held up a bit on these exits. Oh, and he's hit! He's damaged the rear! He's lost any chance of winning this race! And that was Greg Moore's fault. He saw Ribeiro was in front. He lit up the rear wheels. He rode over the back of Andre Ribeiro's car. And that's it. That's over for Greg Moore. He's wrecked his chances here. Would you believe it? He's driven superbly this afternoon, but just a moment of over-anxiety, a little bit too keen with the right foot on the throttle. He's hit the back of Ribeiro. Ribeiro's got going. I hope that his car is all right. I hope the Penske crew members are okay. I think one of them actually got hit there as a result, but it does look as though he's okay. But that's it, Jeremy, for Greg Moore today.
Well, yeah, that's a very strange thing to do there by Greg Moore. He had the trace in his pocket, and the suspension we hear is broken on the player's car, and there is Greg Moore clambering out of the car. Disappointment there for Greg Moore. He didn't need to pull out anything spectacular. There was a good stop by the player's crew. He had a clear advantage, and there is Ribeiro pulling out, and good grief.
He just lit up the rears, as he would normally, of course. Normally he'd come out with that much slide, it would be all right, but not when there's a car there. The car was right in the way, and Greg should just have driven out slowly. He had the advantage on Fernandez anyway coming into the pits. He had a couple of seconds.
Yeah, he had 6 or 7 seconds. In fact, he'd been pulling out a substantial lead before that caution came out. He was pulling away at a good half a second a lap, and he's now thrown it all away. And it was he didn't have a lot of maneuvering space there, of course. The pit lane, there's not a lot of room in the pit lane, and Ribeiro was in. Ribeiro was in slightly in on the skew. But let's go down to the pit lane now and hear from Greg Moore.
Leave the pits, and the back end came out, and I think Ribeiro was sticking out, fairly far, and it just hit his right rear tire.
It looked like as he was nosing in, you had to make an initial move to try to avoid contact. Then as you got on the throttle, there was just no way to clear him.
There's just no room.
Oh, got to be a huge, huge disappointment. They're assessing the damage to the car.
Look
and
out.
All Greg can do right now is just shake his head.
Well, that's how close it was, but he got the front end pass, but he just lit up the rear too much. Hard, of course. It's so easy to say from up here in the commentary box, well, he should have taken it calm. But remember, these guys, their hearts are pounding at sort of, some incredible rate, 170, something like that in terms of pulse rate. They're been working flat out on track, and he just got a bit carried away, didn't he, coming out? That's all.
Yeah, he certainly did, and you can see that rear tire flying there across, and runs into the The guy changing the front right wheel on Andre Risbero's car. I'm not sure whether that's John Boslong, the crew chief. I think it probably is. With a bit of luck, he'll be okay. But there is the player's car being pushed away at the end of the day for Greg Moore.
Yeah, very much the end of the day. A moment of rashness has ended any chance of a race victory here for the Canadian. The action, green flag has just come out, and they're racing once again with Gilles de Ferran now our race leader. Alex Zanardi's managed to get past Patrick Carpentier on this restart, which puts Zanardi up into 9th position. But this back to green flag now, and some good racing going on. Gilles de Ferran is our race leader. Let's go down to the pits.
In the Penske pit, Danny referenced the fellow known as Myron. It's John Boslog. They call you Myron. That was a frightening situation. Did you get hit by the car at all? Because it looked like they just ripped that wheel right out of your hand.
It did, yeah. These pits are so tight that I was trying to think ahead and figured that since we might have some time for a full fill, you know, carry my tire, that gives Andre some room in. But Greg was in, Andre came in, and it was just a bad timing on everybody's part. But Andre came in, and Moore had to stop. Once Andre got in the box, Moore took off as I was carrying my tire out. His left rear hit the tire I was carrying, knocked it out.
We've got to go back upstairs.
We've got a car.
Problem.
Yeah, we've had a huge accident down at the end of the backstretch. A car has rolled coming out down under braking there, and it's one of the Newman Haas cars. I think it's Christian, or is it Michael? It's difficult to tell from this view. It's Michael. It is Michael Andretti. We have confirmation. Not out of the car yet, and obviously a fire in the back there as well. The safety crews running across the gravel, trying to get there as quickly as possible, and in fact very fast to get to the car. It is definitely Michael. You can see that silver crash helmet, the familiar silver crash helmet, and obviously there's been a nasty incident. Mark Blundell is in the gravel too, perhaps involved in that. They were all battling together. PJ Jones is there as well. He was being, well, not Latner, he was actually up there as well. He was in that battle. They were almost 3 abreast on the previous lap coming into that turn 3 area, and now it looks as though it's all gone wrong for them again, and surely we're going to see another full course caution. JJ Leto I can see coming into the pits as well at this point.
And Alex Zanardi also came into the pits too. I'm surprised that Gilles de Ferran did not come into the pits. He was at the front of the pack, and must have realised, or the crew must have realised, it was going to go full course caution. Actually, the yellows have only just come out, but it was pretty obvious it was going to be a full course caution, and I'm surprised they didn't call Gilles in to make that pit stop, because when he does come in, he will fall to the back of the pack.
Well, there is Michael Andretti. He is certainly communicating with the safety crew, and let's hope that he's not badly hurt in this. It looks as though they're getting the crash helmet off, but that car went over and over as we were in that interview with one of the Penske personnel, and there we can see a view of Michael down there in the car. They will take their time to get him out. Now let's see what happened. We've got the on-board camera. Let's see if someone appears. Well, the accident perhaps happening ahead of him, or he had a chance. Oh, he went trying to get past PJ and they clipped. Wow. Now that was a high-speed accident. Look at that. He hadn't really started braking when he hit the back of PJ Jones, and look at the way that car got flicked into a roll across the gravel trap. They've increased the size of that gravel trap this year, and I think for Michael Andretti's sake, it's a very good thing they have. 190 miles an hour they're doing as they come down there, and that's where it all went wrong. And there, in a separate incident, Leto trying to get past Zanardi, and there was the contact, and then appeared Michael Andretti across in front of everybody. Wow, and Carpentier was lucky not to get wiped out there.
Astonishing accident, really. I'm not quite sure. Tough to see what was going on there, but look at the severity, the violence of that crash, and the Swift chassis there really taking a beating. And there's Mark Blundell's car in the foreground. He's just nowhere to go, and there is Mikey climbing out of that car.
Well, how about
Somewhat shaken, but boy, that tells you a heck of a lot about these cars, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just look at the speed, the momentum of that accident. For somebody to be able to get out and walk away, that is just incredible. And there is PJ Jones going over to see him. Let's go down to the pits and to see if we can find out a little bit more.
Oh, I never seen Michael take a tumble like that before. Biggest crash he ever had, I think.
Mario Andretti is down here, obviously, concern etched into his face. Mario, you've been through these wars for so many years. What's it like as a father to see a son go through that, but then fortunately walk away from it?
You know, it's probably the toughest moment, obviously. You feel so helpless from here, but luckily Ed asked him right away if he was all right. He said, well, I think so. So we knew that he was conscious at least. So it looks like the car did its job.
Boy, the emotion in the voice lets you know just how tough it is to be on this side of the wall to watch something like that. But again, Michael walking away under his own power.
Quite right, Gary. You could really hear the lump in the throat from Mario there. What a scary accident that was, and no doubt Mario was extremely worried seeing that. Huge accident indeed, and thankfully Michael able to step away unhurt. And well, as you say, Jeremy, brilliant sign of just how strong these cars are nowadays. Fantastic performance from the car. Let's just take another look at the replay at full speed, just how fast things go wrong. This was the incident ahead, but look in the background. That was Leto and Zanardi making contact, but look in the background as Andretti just appears already the accident happening.
Yeah, look how fast it goes down the inside. Of course, no braking at all there, and there goes a car cartwheeling across the road, and comes the rest of cloud dust. We'll be back in a moment, but it's great to see Michael Andretti okay.
The overhead view as the cars continue to follow the pace car here at Mid-Ohio in an incredibly incident-filled race. We have seen it all here this afternoon, and just recently we've seen one of the most scary accidents for a long time. A 190-mile-per-hour accident to Michael Andretti. And Jeremy, you were just saying you reckon that perhaps they were slowing down as a couple of the cars there were slowing down as a result of the incident between Leto and Zanardi further ahead.
Well, here we are coming through the kink there by the start gantry on the left there, and Carpunche certainly braked fairly early there. PJ Jones was out of the way on the right-hand side of the track, keeping well out of the way, and Mikey, I think, was taken a bit by surprise. He didn't expect Carpunche perhaps to brake quite as early. That's assuming there wasn't a brake failure on Michael Andretti's car. He certainly didn't seem to slow down much, and as he pulled across the front of Jones's car, he just clipped Jones. But it's not inconceivable there might have been some kind of a failure on Andretti's car as well, I believe. But look how damaged that car is on the roll hoop there. But it did its job. It did its job absolutely admirably. And Michael Andretti appears to be okay and out of this race.
Well, the other incident that we've just recently witnessed was the accident to Greg Moore. The leader of the race seemed to have it in his pocket when he hit the back of Andre Ribeiro's car in the pits. And look at this replay for some scary action. Look at this. Wow, that was Greg Moore as he pulled out. And the Penske man at the back there was so lucky.
Yeah, that's John Boslog, the crew chief on the number 3 car of Andre Ribeiro, and he was just running out with that wheel. Normally, he would place that wheel out in the road, and he was just coming out there. And luckily, he seemed to have a sixth sense there. He just seemed to sort of hesitate before he ran around the back of Andre Ribeiro's car to change that right rear wheel, and boy, that hesitation saved him, let's face it, let's just leave it at that. And Greg Moore just a little bit too enthusiastic on the throttle and slams into the back of the car.
Scary replay. Just seeing Alex Zanardi coming into the pits. Zanardi perhaps taking advantage of this yellow, but he's not really featuring today. It's a Patrick 1-2 at the moment. Fernandez ahead of Scott Pruitt. There is Alex Zanardi then. He's been back into the pit lane and has had a change of tyres on his car. He really is struggling in this race, everything going wrong. I wonder if he had a rear tyre cut as a result of that incident he had with JJ Leto.
Yeah, that was somewhat weird. I mean, he cut across there on JJ Leto on the straight, and I don't think that's a very smart move by Alex Zanardi. There was contact between the two. Leto did a good job to keep under control the front of his car. You could see some bits flying off the nose cone of JJ Leto's car. And as you say, I think conceivably there's some damage to also the rear of Zanardi's car. But the way he cut across the road there was not the sort of move you expect of a PPG Cup champion, I don't think. And not the best move that he's made this season by a long way. And it could well... Certainly, they've both been running well. JJ Leto's had a good run this weekend, and that cost him valuable time, of course. A great shame, because he really had been doing a super job for Hogan Racing. That team's really been struggling this season. But this weekend, they've had a good test here a few weeks ago, and they're reaping the dividends of that. And JJ has been much closer to the pace than he has been for quite a long time. And that's been good to see. And he's fallen back now to 16th place. with that pit stop to try and repair the damage to the car. But all is not lost. He can make up a few positions from there, but certainly some full-scale shuffling of the order going on here these last few laps. And this caution, of course, will be of great assistance to the race leaders, who should be able to go to the finish now without any real concerns over their fuel consumption. But there is Alex Zanardi at the back of the pack.
Yes, and it's interesting, Mark Blundell is back out. They've pulled that car out of the gravel trap, and Mark Blundell has rejoined at the back of the queue, so hopefully he will be able to get a race finish here. The Miller Lite 200 continues. We've got 61 laps completed, 22 laps to go, that's all. And there should be plenty of yellow flag here for them not to have to worry too much about fuel consumption into the final stages. Our leader at the moment, Adrian Fernandez. We've had 4 different leaders, 3 changes of lead, 5 caution periods, more than usual here at Mid-Ohio for 16 laps and 9 cars out. That's a pretty high retirement rate. The most recent, PJ Jones and Michael Andretti after that scary accident. Greg Moore, the accident in the pits, Guada Salas went off, Richie Hearn, Brian Herter, Dario Franchitti, Jimmy Vasser, Michel Jourdain as well, all out of this race sadly. And there, the wrecked remains of the Newman Haas Swift of Michael Andretti. Just such good news to see him able to walk away from one of the biggest accidents, certainly of this year.
Absolutely right, and we'll try and get a word from Michael and find out what happened there. But there's a good view over the end of the back straight, and you can see all those fans there on the infield. There's some great spectator viewing points on this racetrack, and there's 2 little grandstands at the end of the straightaway. Boy, did they have a good view of that accident. So you can see that huge gravel trap at the end of that straight, and boy, it's good news they've extended that gravel trap, I think, and Michael didn't even get within 20 yards probably of the barrier at the end of it. So if you remember, actually, Michael hitting that barrier in the past fairly heavily. He went across, he was much more grass than he spun across the grass and slammed into that barrier and way up in the air on that occasion. So he's had a couple of nasty incidents at this racetrack, but once again able to walk away and tell the tale. And with good luck we'll catch up with Michael a little bit later on and find out whether there was a failure on the car or whether he was indeed trying to make that move on Patrick Carponche. But all sorts of funky incidents there, and that thing with Alex Zanardi and JJ Leto really surprised me. I didn't expect Zanardi to pull across on the straight in the way that he did across the front of JJ Leto's car, and I fancy that Patrick Carponche might have seen that bit of debris come off from JJ Leto's car and perhaps eased off the throttle a little bit sooner than he otherwise might have done. Yes. But there we are, there is Alex Zanardi. He is at the back of the pack now. He is in 16th position, having made a couple of pit stops during his caution to check out the car.
Yes, and Zanardi definitely not having a good weekend this weekend. He made mistakes in qualifying. First Friday qualifying wasn't his fault. The pop-off valve failed on the car and he wasn't able to set a quick lap. He made a mistake in Saturday qualifying when he just lost control of the car and lost any chance of going well. And then, of course, in this race, he got himself in the top 8 and then fell off the road, and that dropped him back down the order again. You have to wonder, I wonder what things are on his mind at the moment. All the rumours about him perhaps going to Formula One, obviously last week as well. We know his wife, Daniela, who is pregnant at the moment, they had some complications there as well. I wonder if Alex, perhaps a little distracted this weekend, certainly not having the sort of performance we would expect to see from the reigning champion and the man who's leading in the points table. I tell you what though, Jeremy, just thinking about that, it does appear that everybody else throws away any opportunity they do have of catching up to him, though.
That's right, all the top contenders out of the race, aren't they? Jimmy Vasser's already gone, of course, and we saw Greg Moore really throw away a great opportunity. All he needed it's easy for us to say all he needed to do was poodle out of the pits there and he would maintain the lead. That's not being a racing driver, of course, but certainly a little bit of misfortune, I think, there for Greg Moore. That is the car in front of him comes in just at the wrong time. And here's that incident. Actually, it's just happened already, but JJ Leto is going slowly and Carponche goes past him, and there goes Michael Andretti's car cartwheeling down the inside. But Leto there lifting off, having been clipped by Alex Zanardi. And boy, that was a massive accident by Michael, but he's going so fast there. We'll wait and see what happens, what was the cause of the accident. But it's certainly great to see that he was able to walk away from that accident. And you know, there's been so much advance in safety. Here's the thing now between Zanardi and JJ Leto. JJ making a move on the inside, and look at Zanardi, just pulls right across there as they go past that stripe. There is a slight kink in the road at that point in the racetrack. That is exactly where the kink is, but nevertheless he should have seen, I think, that Leto was that close to him, and that could have been very nasty indeed by those two, and good to see them get away from it.
Yeah, well, I think Zanardi, surely he couldn't have seen him because it was such a risky thing to have done, taking his line through the kink. Here we go anyway. The green flag is out. Restart lap number 64. And Adrian Fernandez it is who leads from Scott Pruitt. Bobby Rahal is in third position. What a tremendous performance this is from the local man. And behind him, Gugelmin and Paul Tracy. Look at Tracy up into 5th place and now trying to go for 4th position.
Yeah, around the outside he tries a keyhole. That's a ballsy move there by Paul Tracy. Not able to pull it off there. Gugelmin able to get the better line on the edge of the corner and stay just ahead of Paul Tracy. But a fabulous drive by Paul Tracy today as he dives to the inside. No again. Discretion the better part of valor for Paul Tracy. He's come up from 21st to 5th. That's a great day already. Don't rush it, Paul. Take your time here. I think you've probably got a faster car than Mauricio Gugelmin, and you've got to bide your time and wait for a clean opportunity to make that pass.
Yes, that's right. Points are what matters here today for Tracy, but it's great to see him up there and in the battle as the top 3, Fernandez, Pruitt and Rahal, trying to get away from this little group battling for 4th, headed by Gugelmin, Paul Tracy right behind, and Al Unser Jr. in 6th position. So that's the situation at the moment as they come round to complete another lap. Fernandez just trying to get away from his teammate. Amazing to see these two Patrick Racing Reynards running 1 and 2 in this race. We've seen them both go well on occasions this year, but to see both cars up there and leading ahead of Bobby Rahal, it's a Ford 1-2-3 at the moment, and the Ford boys will be leaping up and down in enjoyment of that.
Yeah, they will indeed. They've been waiting a long time to get back into victory lane, and certainly a fabulous day by Patrick's team here this afternoon, and they bided their time. They've both driven sense for racing in the last few races. Scott Pruitt really has come on. There it is, Tony Kanaan around the inside of Patrick Carponche. Can he make it move? No.
No, not quite, but he had to go, didn't he? De Ferran, who was our leader just before that last yellow, remember, but he had to make an extra stop. He's down in 9th place behind these two. So Gilles De Ferran there in the battle for in the top 10, but not really as far up as he might have been if they'd pulled him in just a lap earlier on that caution period when it came out for Andretti's accident. Meanwhile, this battle between Carpentier and Tony Kanaan is one to watch. Good fun between two young, hard racers.
Absolutely. It's the first race on this racetrack in actual fact for Tony Kanaan. He's been over here a couple of years in Indy Lights. This, of course, is rookie season in the championship cars, but he has never raced at Mid-Ohio. Ooh, a slide there coming through turn 1 for Tony Kanaan. But really doing a fabulous job for Steve Horn's team, the Tasman Motorsports Group, based also, like Team Rahal, just an hour or so away from this racetrack. And here we are on board Tony Kanaan, coming off the keyhole and onto the back straight.
Just listen to him building up the speed. And let's just sit back for a moment and watch this battle from the onboard camera. Now and go on board Tony Kanaan, looking back at Gilles De Ferran. Great view of the ups and downs of this track. Seems to be much more clear on this rear-facing camera than it is on the forward-facing camera.
Yeah, that's curious, isn't it? Up here, up Thunder Valley through this quick left-hand turn, just down 1 gear, down another couple of gears, here down 1 gear, their 3rd gear for the carousel turn.
De Ferran just shadowing Kanaan's every move. Two Brazilians battling for position here. Still to see a Brazilian win a race this year. We've got quite a few of them out there in top cars, of course. Mauricio Gugelmin was leading this race earlier on. Gilles De Ferran led it at one stage, but it's the Mexican Adrian Fernandez who's out front at the moment. Already a race winner this year. Here's another Brazilian, Christian Fittipaldi, struggling with the Swiss chassis just as Michael Andretti has been all weekend. And Christian is in 14th place. Right behind him is championship leader Alex Zanardi, way down in 15th.
Yeah, really not able to make a move, it seems, on Christian Fittipaldi, but there is Fittipaldi looking to the inside of Max Papis, the MCI Reynard Toyota, and certainly Toyota making some gains significantly in the last few weeks. Papis and Robbie Gordon, the Arturo Wells cars, run in the latest Toyota engine, the RV8D engine, and good bit more horsepower, is able to rev a little bit higher, and Toyota definitely making gains. Saturday morning, then you'll remember, Max Papis was the 8th quickest in the practice session. Unfortunately, qualifying, there were several red flag stoppages in that group. He wasn't able to show what that car really had, but he's having a good run this afternoon. But there are the two Patrick Racing cars of Adrian Fernandez and Scott Pruitt out in front of this pack, and Ford They haven't won since Fernandez's victory at Motegi. That was round 2. We're now at round 13.
Yeah, it's been a long drought. Of course, they had 2 wins at the start of the year, didn't they? Because Michael Andretti took the first victory of the year at Homestead. There is Bobby Rahal running in 3rd position, but he's not able to maintain the pace of these lead 2. And, well, Bobby had a 3rd place finish last year from 16th on the grid, and this year he started 16th as well, and he's up to 3rd place again. There must be something about those figures, but don't quite know what we read into them, except that Bobby goes well here, and he's got the support of the crowd behind him.
He's consistent. He doesn't make any mistakes. He knows his way around this racetrack. He knows when to push and when not to push, and another good run, as you say, for Bobby Rahal. He'll be thrilled to get on the podium. He'll be even more thrilled to get a victory. It's been a long, long time. Nazareth in 92 since he last won a PPG Cup race, and the FedEx Championship Series is 13 races old this year. 13, can that be a lucky number for Bobby Rahal?
We shall see. It might involve the 2 teammates up front having to take each other off to get there, mind you. I don't think the veteran team owner, Pat Patrick, would be too pleased about that. He's got his 2 boys up there for the first time this year, and really for the first time that I can remember in a very long time, to see 2 Patrick race cars leading a race, 1 and 2. Brilliant performance, and a bit of a surprise, I have to say. Okay, we've lost a few of the favourites from this race today, but that takes nothing away from Adrian Fernandez and Scott Pruitt, who've both driven superbly well, and you can only just really pick them out there. A bit of a distance between them and Bobby Rahal, who we ride on board now in 3rd place.
And last lap around, it was Bobby Rahal who had the fastest lap of the leaders, 1 minute 9.054. The race leader, 1 minute 09.729. So 3/4 of a second Bobby Rahal made up on that last lap, and he'll be looking to close his gap a little bit more, get onto the tail of Scott Pruitt, and then see what can happen. We're on lap 69 now, out of 83, so 14 to go, and plenty of action ahead of us, Ben.
Yes, all good fun, overtaking as we've seen. Very difficult at this course, but not impossible, and that's what everybody's got to think about now. Fernandez in the lead from Scott Pruitt and Bobby Rahal. These 3 have definitely pulled out a bit of an advantage over Maurizio Guterman. He's about 3.5 seconds further back. Paul Tracy 5th, Alain Jr. 6th, Patrick Carpentier 7th, then Tony Kanaan in 8th, Gilles de Ferran 9th, Robbie Gordon 10th, Andre Ribeiro 11th, ahead of Helio Castroneves 12th, Christian Fittipaldi 13th, Max Papis 14th, Alex Zanardi in 15th position. Well, there we are, concentrating on this lead battle between Fernandez and Scott Pruitt. Fernandez, who's certainly had a bit of an up-and-down season, started off the championship extremely well, was early championship leader as well after that victory in Motegi. Brilliant performance from him. And he's been up there pretty much throughout the course of the season. Qualified on the pole in Michigan last time out, and qualified quite well on the road course at Portland. He was in 6th place, but went out in an accident with Jimmy Vasser, where again he was showing good pace on this kind of track.
Certainly, it's by far his most consistent season in the championship cars, and Adrian Fernandez is looking on here for win number 2 this season and win number 3 in all. If he can keep it on the island here with 13 laps to go, then he's looking good, and a good performance by both these guys. And you've got to hand it to Pat Patrick for getting both of his cars up towards the front of the pack, and not only up towards the front of the pack, at the front of the pack.
Now, we just had the good news that Michael Andretti has been through the medical inspection after his frightening accident down at this part of the track. He is out of the medical centre now, seems okay. Hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from him. Michael Andretti down in the pit lane.
The effects of getting airborne here at Mid-Ohio. Michael, take us through what happened.
I guess Zanardi and Leto made contact through the kink, and a piece of Leto's wing went in PJ's lap. And when all that happened, I had to run on Carpentier and PJ, and I went to pull over to pass Carpentier, and I guess PJ couldn't steer his car, and he said it started to drift to the left, and I didn't anticipate that when I was pulling out to pass Carpentier, and I touched PJ, and I just went for a wild ride.
When you go for a wild ride like that, and as a driver you have absolutely no control, what goes through your mind?
Just praying. I mean, just close my eyes and just hope that I didn't hit anything hard, and I mean, I just remembered rolling and rolling, but I didn't hit anything hard, so it was like, thank God. God was with me today.
Fellas?
Well, great to see Michael in good shape after that frightening accident, and interesting explanation there. As you see that the lead battle still intense here. Pruitt slightly faster on that last last lap, or in fact, no, slightly slower on that last lap, but he did seem to gain a little bit of ground as they go through. And in fact, on our last lap, he was a fraction faster. Michael Andretti, though, good to hear. And interesting about that situation, as you predicted, Jeremy, it was the Zanardi-Leto incident that in a way led to the accident to Michael Andretti.
Yeah, very bizarre instance there for PJ Jones. We thought he was moving out to keep out of the way, but in fact he got some piece of debris there and jammed into the cockpit. That can't have been a particularly pleasant experience for him, and the scary moments all around there, but great to see that all's well and ends well, and they seem to be okay, and we'll get on to fight another day, but shame. Certainly hadn't been a good weekend for Michael Andretti, but it is a great day for Patrick Racing. And there you can see the fastest lap last time around. Once again, Bobby Rahal. Yeah, Bobby Rahal, fastest lap, 1 minute 8.9 he did, as opposed to a 1 minute 9.3 for the race leader. So that's 0.4 of a second that Bobby was able to gain. And you wonder, is he biding his time? Is he looking after his tyres to put in a last charge? I tell you what, he's going to have the most incredible support from the fans here. If he can try and get a little closer, they will be rooting for him all the way. 4 leaders we've had now, 3 changes of the lead, 5 caution periods, 9 cars out of this race, a much higher retirement rate than normal, and most of that has been through accident and incident. All sorts of accidents that we've seen to those 9 cars. We really haven't seen many mechanical problems at all yet this afternoon. Still 11 laps to go. Adrian Fernandez, our race leader. Scott Pruitt in second place by just a few tenths of a second. And Bobby Rahal in third, and there they are in the same frame. And Bobby Rahal definitely is inching closer. The crowd can sense it. We can see people in front of us here standing up and cheering. Mark Blundell is off in the gravel track. The yellows may have to be brought out once again. And a shame for Mark Blundell, who's been suffering a really torrid afternoon, involved as a result of that incident between Franchitti and Herta earlier on. He lost a lot of time, had to make an extra pit stop. He's been in other incidents. The one of Andretti he was involved in. He had to drive into the gravel to avoid it. And it's just a local yellow, we're being told at the moment. They're not brought out the full course caution. They may be able to get the lifter in there to remove that car without bringing out the pace car. Let's hope they can, and that we can continue the race with just 10 laps to go. On the other hand, it would be quite fun to bunch them all up together again with just 10 laps remaining in this race. Yeah, then there's, you can see the cars there going through. There are the race leaders going past that accident. That is at the far end of the racetrack, and we're on board again with Scott Pruitt, and there is right ahead of him there the car of Adrian Fernandez, and the gap between these two staying pretty constant, just 3 or 4 tenths between them, tantalizingly close. Yeah, great battle going on between these two, isn't it? Pruitt and Fernandez on board with Scott Pruitt at the moment. These two teammates who are thrown together this year. Scott Pruitt, the 38-year-old American, against Adrian Fernandez, the 33-year-old Mexican. And the relationship within the team, well, fairly good. I wouldn't say that they're as close as the likes of Jimmy Vasser and Alex Zanardi. Of course, they've only been together for a while. But the team has gelled particularly well this season. And the sort of results that Fernandez was putting in the early part of the year, and then Scott Pruitt more recently, remember he was 2nd in Portland, he was 4th in Cleveland, dropped back to 6th place in Toronto, but 4th in Michigan. Really has strung together a very, very good set of results there, Scott Pruitt. That's right, and moved up to 6th place in the championship, and 16 points for him this afternoon would move him ahead, or actually equal, with Michael Andretti, who is also already out of this contest. So that's going to close things up for 2nd place. Zanardi, he's out of the points at the moment. Jimmy Vasser, he's out of the race. Greg Moore is out of the race. Michael Andretti is out of the race. 5th place, Adrian Fernandez. So this will be great for Adrian Fernandez. In actual fact, it will bump him up to 4th place in the championship, and Pruitt on his tail in the race and in the point standings. Yeah, it's great fun, isn't it? Of course, Alex Zanardi down in 14th place in this race still, hasn't been able to really make any impression, stuck behind Christian Fittipaldi in this latter section and hasn't been able to find a way past. So Zanardi not on for one of his great recovery drives, although as I say, he's just gone past, and he has got past Fittipaldi. Yeah. So 1 place gain, but that only moves him up to 13th position. So he's paid points down to 12th position, so ahead of him now will be Helio Castroneves as we watch the race leaders down at the end of the back straight. And there is this huge crowd there watching, and through the S's there, ups and downs this racetrack. Great place it is down there. And there is the 3rd place car of Bobby Rahal. Now you're looking at the
points there. That is if the race ended right now with everybody in the positions they are. Look at Fernandez, 4th place, would move much closer to Greg Moore. Really no differences up front with Zanardi still with a huge lead over Vassar, but it certainly brings Pruitt and Fernandez into the reckoning much more, at least for 2nd place in the championship, if not for the overall title, which as the races tick by is looking more and more the property of Alex Zanardi. Still 6 more races after this one, remember, so that's still a good few points on offer. 132 points if you take into account the point for the most laps led and for pole position throughout those races. So still quite a few points to gather, but Alex Zanardi with a very healthy advantage in the championship chase. 7 laps to go then, and Adrian Fernandez looking for his 2nd win of the season. On a road course, he's won on a street course before, he's won on the Speedway at Motegi, but he would love to win this Mid-Ohio sports car course.
Certainly would. He's run here sort of moderately consistently in the past. He's had a 4th place finish here with Gallers Racing a few years ago, and there again the crowd favourite Bobby Rahal. Can he make a move? He's only got 6 laps to go, so time is running out for him in order to be able to catch these 2 Patrick Racing cars. Takadi Quaker State, Reynard Ford, Firestone tires, of course, for Adrian Fernandez. Through the carousel, out onto the start-finish line. That is 77 laps in the books.
So top 3, all powered by the Ford engine, the Cosworth engine, of course, built in the UK. And Ford actually looking for their 300th victory this afternoon. I have to say they're in with a pretty good chance of it, with 3 cars in the top 3 places. And that really would be a tremendous milestone for them. And I'm sure the Cosworth boys up in Northamptonshire enjoying this race at the moment. Let's hear from Pat Patrick, team owner of the top 2 in the race.
And there is a proud...
Well, no, we didn't quite get a chance to hear that. Let's see it now if we get a chance to hear from Pat Patrick.
What are the team orders here, Pat? What are the team orders, sir?
They got a race. I hope that Scott can... I shouldn't say that. I'd like to see them race, okay?
How nervous are you? You've been through this so many times in your illustrious career.
Well, yes, we have, but I really am happy for Scott because he's passed a lot of cars on the track. He's driven the best race he's ever driven since he's been with us. I'm very, very happy for him.
And for Adrian Fernandez, who's got the lead, is he going to be able to hold Scott off?
I think so. It looks like it. We're still... both cars are pressing the button right now, so they're trying their best.
They talk about pressing the button. That's where you get that little extra 300-400 revs, a squirt of horsepower in a critical situation. And Pruitt trying to get the job done to make the pass. Fernandez, his teammate, trying to hold him off.
Oh, a fascinating situation. You get the idea there that Pat Patrick was favouring Scott Pruitt a little?
Well, that's very interesting indeed, because certainly the last few weeks there's been some speculation that Pat Patrick is not terribly happy with the performances of Scott Pruitt. But certainly, oh, there he is, Adrian Fernandez locking up the brakes. They're going over the top of the hill. But they're both trying hard, these 2 guys. But certainly, the last few races, you said a few minutes ago, Pruitt really had to put together some very good results and a brilliant drive this afternoon. As Pat said, he has made several passes on the racetrack, and they've both driven a great race, I'd say, this afternoon, and clearly Scott Pruitt is back in favour.
Yes, it sounds like it. There's been mention that Pruitt's been talking to 1 or 2 of the other team owners about the available slots for next year. Remember, Bobby Rahal's seat still to be decided, and Chip Ganassi's team still to be sorted out as well, depending on whether Zanardi moves to Formula 1 or not, and what Vassar does. Pruitt has been in conversation with 1 or 2 of the other team owners, but you have to say that after a performance like this, perhaps everything will come together for him to stay at Patrick Racing next year as well. The memories, Bobby. Well, he's providing some more memories here today, but can he provide the ultimate and grab the win in the last stages? It's not looking very likely, I have to say. It would be a fairy tale, but with 4 laps to go, he's dropped back again a little bit in 3rd position. There is a view of Bobby Rahal, the maestro, and a man who has developed such a good following, not only amongst the spectators and fans, but amongst the other drivers. It's nice to hear the other drivers complimenting him on his driving style. They regard him as a very hard racer, but a perfectly fair racer. He would never push someone off the road. If someone's got the line, he'll always be prepared to give it to them, but he won't give it to them without them pushing extremely hard. And certainly he can be ruthless, but in a fair way. And that certainly goes down well with the other drivers who would all aim to try and achieve what he has achieved over the years. 3 kart titles to his name. The last one back in 1992. And, well, as you say, Jeremy, it's been a while since he's won a race, but he has been consistently up there ever since then.
Certainly has. And you never count out Bobby Rahal. He, like Al Unser Jr., you never count out a race. It doesn't really matter where they seem to qualify. They always manage to get themselves up towards the front of the field. And perhaps Unser, he's struggling perhaps a little bit with those Goodyear tyres. Don't seem to be quite up to a match of the Firestone this weekend. That's certainly not the case on all the racetracks this year by any means. Goodyear has made big strides over the winter, but again, this seems to be another Firestone race. And not for quite a while we've seen Goodyear at the front of the field, or winning the race at least, but there's still plenty of time to go. We've got time's running out, isn't it? We've got 2.5 laps to go, just coming up for 2 laps to go for Adrian Fernandez. Can he hold on?
Take a quick view of Christian Fittipaldi, who's behind Zanardi now. Fittipaldi down in 14th position. Let's just ride with him for a moment as the leaders go on to the penultimate lap, and there's Davide Tangle, and it's Helio Castroneves in the wall in the Alimax car, and I don't know whether another car has been involved there. There may be a full course yellow, but the leaders have less than 2 laps to go now. They may try to just get this race finished on a local yellow for that car.
He was in 12th place and trying to fend off the attack of Alex Zanardi. They were very, very close together as they came around, and here they are. Zanardi makes a move to the inside, then to the outside, and he goes around the outside through the first part of the S's here, and they go up the hill, and Zanardi, well, that was a bit desperate, wasn't it, for 12th place?
Yes, it was pretty frantic, wasn't it? Both of them interlocking wheels, and Castroneves ending up getting pushed to the outside as a result. That ends Zanardi's torrid afternoon as well. I'm not sure if he's still running or not, but, well, it's all been a bit of a disaster today for the reigning champion and the championship leader. But Alex Zanardi might not have a good afternoon going, but Adrian Fernandez certainly does. He has just 1 lap to go as he comes through the last couple of turns to start that final lap across the line to take the white flag, and Pruitt is surely too far back to make any challenge on this last lap. Fernandez has paced himself beautifully. It looks as though Bobby Rahal is going to finish on the podium here and his last outing in front of his hometown fans, and that is certainly something that will fill the local newspapers here on Monday morning. A brilliant result for him, but Adrian Fernandez set to take his 2nd victory of the season, the 2nd win for the team of the year, and Scott Pruitt backing him up with 2nd position here. Brilliant performance from the 2 Patrick teammates.
That's absolutely right. The last time around, certainly Adrian Fernandez able to pull away a little bit from Scott Pruitt. I fancy that Scott Pruitt is a little bit more conservative going over the top of the hill there, where the yellow flags were flying, and Fernandez took full advantage, pulls away a little bit of breathing space, and here we are now, just 2 or 3 corners to go. That is a much slower car of JJ Leto, whose engine has gone off song these last few laps. Will he be a factor? Just 1 corner to go for Adrian Fernandez.
Yes, well, they're coming down into the last corner, into our view as well, with the car of Leto getting well out of the way. He did a good job there, as he should do. It's Fernandez who's going to take the win here at Mid-Ohio. Adrian Fernandez wins it. Scott Pruitt is in 2nd position, and Bobby Rahal comes home in a fine 3rd place. 4th position for Maurizio Gugelmin, 5th for Paul Tracy, who survives after a torrid time in recent races. 6th for Al Unser Jr., 7th Patrick Carpentier, 8th for Tony Kanaan, 9th position for Gilles de Ferran, 10th for Andre Ribeiro, 11th for Robbie Gordon, and in 12th place, the final point for Alex Zanardi. Let's go down to Steve Newey now in the pits.
How much were you sweating having Pruitt right behind you?
We were sweating a lot. Scott really had a strong car, and he was driving a great race too, and Adrian did one heck of a job keeping him behind him, so we're as happy as we can be today.
How about that Patrick team? 1 and 2, pal.
The first 1-2 we've had in a couple years, and we're excited.
Go to get them. They're on their way to victory lane.
Well, a brilliant performance, and this was the racetrack where Ganassi had their first ever 1-2 a couple of years ago. I wonder if this bodes well for the future.
I'd say so. Patrick Racing really has done a fabulous job this season. There's one or other at least of these 2 have been up there, and there is the confirmation of the unofficial results at least at this stage. and some great drives all the way through there. Paul Tracy, fabulous effort, I'd say, from 21st on the grid. Didn't get carried away in the closing stages. He couldn't get past Mauricio Gugelmin, who also drove a fine race this weekend. And looking back down the pack, Patrick Carpentier, Tony Kanaan, once again the top rookie finisher. A good drive by him. Gilles de Ferran on the Goodyear tyres. Andre Ribeiro also for Penske Racing. The two Penske cars in the top 10. Robbie Gordon also a good drive for Arciero Wells. And 2 points for the Toyota engine.
Looking down the results, those who didn't get points: Christian Fittipaldi, Max Papis, JJ Leto just limping across the line, Alex Barron, Helio Castroneves out of it at the end. Of course, Arndt Meyer not making much progress in this race. Mark Blundell shown as 19th, PJ Jones, Michael Andretti, and all of the retirements that we see listed there, a great many of them in a race that was really packed full of incident, some very scary accidents as well. Thankfully, no one hurt either in the pits or out on track as a result of those accidents. But down there on the start-finish line, congratulations to Adrian Fernandez, winner for the second time this year.